The day my family disowned me for marrying a poor mechanic, my father said I'd come crawling back within a year. 9 years later, my husband and I sold our company for $600 million. And suddenly the same family who erased me showed up at my gate begging for money. But what they didn't know was, I kept receipts for every cruel thing they did to me. My family disowned me for marrying a poor mechanic. Then they begged after we sold our company for $600 million. My name is Camille Whitmore, and I was 38 years old when my mother showed up at my front gate wearing diamonds I had paid for without her realizing it. She arrived in a black town car at exactly 9:17 in the morning. I know the time because I had just finished reviewing acquisition paperwork in my home office when my security monitor flashed. Gate camera. Unknown vehicle. Then my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Camille. There's a woman here asking for you. A pause. She says she's your mother. I stared at the screen for a long moment. 9 years. 9 years of silence. 9 years since Barbara Whitmore looked me in the eye and told me I was destroying the family name. 9 years since my father said, if you marry that mechanic, don't come back. 9 years since my brother toasted champagne at my ex-fiancé's engagement party 2 weeks after my own family cut me off. And now? Now there was a black Mercedes sitting outside the gates of my estate in Lake Oswego, Oregon. Because 3 days earlier, my husband and I had sold our automotive software company for $600 million. Funny how grief travels slowly, but money travels fast. But here's what my family did not know. For 9 years I had kept proof. Not because I planned revenge. Because rich families survive by rewriting history. And I refused to let them rewrite mine. I had 7 leather journals. Every insult. Every returned letter. Every voicemail. Every rumor. Every betrayal. 49 entries. 9 years. And by the time my family came begging, I already had the receipts. Before we get into this story, if you enjoy emotional family drama with satisfying endings, subscribe and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read more comments than you think. Now let me take you back. Back before the gates. Before the money. Before Forbes magazine called my husband the blue-collar visionary who changed the auto industry. Back to the night my family chose reputation over love. I grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut. Old money territory. Country clubs. Private schools. Silent judgment hidden behind polite smiles. My father, Charles Whitmore, owned Whitmore Capital Holdings, an investment firm that specialized in corporate acquisitions. Dad believed money solved weakness. My mother believed appearances solved everything else. Barbara Whitmore hosted charity galas like military operations. Perfect flowers. Perfect silverware. Perfect photographs. Nothing out of place. Especially not me. Because I was the disappointing child. Not wild. Not rebellious. Just inconvenient. My older brother Preston was the golden heir. Yale graduate. Future executive. The son my father displayed proudly like a trophy. Preston wore tailored suits at 16. He shook hands like politicians do. Even as a teenager, he spoke in networking language. Everything about him screamed inheritance. I was quieter. More practical. I hated galas. Hated country club conversations. Hated pretending people were kind when they were actually calculating. I liked engines. I liked fixing things. I liked understanding how broken systems worked. Dad used to call me the mechanic princess as a joke. Turns out he accidentally predicted my future. I met Eli Torres the summer I was 24. Not at a gala. Not at a networking dinner. At a gas station. My BMW had broken down on Interstate 84 during a thunderstorm. I was stranded in heels beside the road while rain soaked through my coat. Then an old tow truck pulled up. Rust on the bumper. Classic rock playing through blown speakers. And out stepped Eli. Dark hair. Grease-stained hands. Brown work jacket. Calm eyes. Not handsome in the polished country club way I grew up around. Real handsome. The kind built by exhaustion and honesty. You okay? He asked. I remember laughing bitterly. My car clearly isn't. He smiled slightly. Good news is, German engineering always looks more expensive broken than it actually is. That made me laugh harder than it should have. He fixed the issue in 15 minutes. Battery connection. Corrosion. Simple. Then he refused extra money. Tow company pays me already. No performance. No flirting. No trying to impress me. And maybe that's why I thought about him afterward. 3 weeks later I went back to the garage pretending my car made a weird sound. It didn't. I just wanted another excuse to see him. Eli noticed immediately. Your transmission sounds fine. Oh, you came anyway. I smiled. Yes. That was our first date. Technically. A diner across from the garage. Cheap coffee. Fries. Conversation until midnight. Eli grew up in Hartford. Single mother. 3 jobs. No inheritance. No safety net. At 19 he dropped out of community college after his mom got sick. Worked construction. Then auto shops. Then eventually opened a tiny repair garage with another mechanic, who later vanished with most of the business money. By the time I met him, Eli was rebuilding from scratch. What struck me most wasn't struggle. It was dignity. Eli never complained. Never performed hardship for sympathy. He simply worked. Harder than anyone I had ever known. My family hated him instantly. Not because Eli was rude. He was respectful. Quiet. Intelligent. They hated him because he made them uncomfortable. Because Eli exposed something ugly about wealthy people. How quickly they confuse wealth with worth. The first dinner was a disaster. Mother spent 20 minutes asking Eli questions designed to humiliate him politely. So mechanics still do well financially these days? Eli smiled calmly. Well enough to pay taxes. Father barely acknowledged him. Preston openly smirked every time Eli spoke. Then came the comment. The one I never forgot. Dessert had just arrived when Father swirled his whiskey and said, Camille's always had a habit of adopting projects. Silence. My face burned. Eli looked directly at my father. I'm not a project, sir. Dad smiled thinly. No. No. I'm a man dating your daughter. The room went cold. Preston laughed once under his breath. Mother changed the subject immediately. But the damage was done. That night my father called me into his office. Mahogany shelves. Leather chairs. The smell of expensive cigars. The room where all Whitmore judgments were delivered. You embarrass yourself with him. I love him. Dad actually smiled. Not kindly. The way adults smile at children who say ridiculous things. You love rebellion. No. I love Eli. He repairs engines for a living. And you're a Whitmore. There it was. The real issue. Not character. Status. Image. Bloodline economics. I realized then my family didn't actually believe in love. They believed in strategic mergers with wedding cakes. When Eli proposed, I already knew what would happen. He proposed in his garage after closing. No orchestra. No photographers. Just fluorescent lights and motor oil and a small diamond he spent too much money on. I can't offer you your family's world, he said quietly. But I swear you'll never question whether you're loved. I said yes before he finished. My mother cried when I told her. Not emotional tears. Humiliation tears. Father didn't speak for almost 30 seconds. Then, if you marry him, don't expect this family to support your mistake. Preston was worse. He cornered me after dinner. You're throwing away your life for a mechanic. I'm building my own. No, he said coldly. You're downgrading. Downgrading. Like love was software. Like Eli was defective merchandise. 2 weeks later my parents invited me to brunch. I thought maybe they were softening. I was wrong. Father slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a prenuptial agreement. Not unusual for wealthy families. Except this one included something horrifying. If I married Eli, I would forfeit access to family trusts permanently. Inheritance. Stocks. Property rights. Everything. My mother folded her hands carefully. This is your last opportunity to think rationally. I looked at them both for a very long time. Then I pushed the papers back. I'd rather be loved in a garage than tolerated in a mansion. That was the moment they cut me off. Not loudly. Quietly. Like freezing someone to death slowly. No screaming. No dramatic scene. Just removal. Credit cards canceled. Trust access revoked. Family attorney instructed not to communicate. Country club membership terminated. My mother even had my childhood room redesigned into a guest suite within 2 months. Erasure. Efficient. Professional. Whitmore style. We married 6 weeks later in a public park outside Portland. 30 people attended. Mostly Eli's friends from the garage. My parents didn't come. Preston posted yacht photos on Instagram during the ceremony. I remember seeing them later that night. Caption. Family first. Funny, because mine had just abandoned me. But Eli's mother hugged me so tightly after the ceremony I almost cried. "You're ours now," she whispered. And for the first time in my life, family sounded warm instead of expensive. The first 2 years were brutal. Not emotionally. Financially. People romanticize struggle after success. In reality, it's exhausting. We lived above the garage in a tiny apartment with leaking pipes and terrible heating. Some nights Eli worked 18 hours. I worked remote accounting contracts during the day and handled garage paperwork at night. We fought over bills, over stress, over exhaustion, but never over loyalty, never over love. And that matters, because hard times don't destroy relationships. Conditional love does. The idea that changed our lives started with frustration. Modern cars were becoming software machines. But independent mechanics had terrible diagnostic systems. Manufacturers controlled repair data. Small garages got crushed. Eli hated it. One night around 2 a.m., sitting at our tiny kitchen table eating instant noodles, he said, "What if independent shops had access to the same predictive diagnostics dealerships use?" That sentence became everything. Eli understood engines. I understood systems and finance. Together we started building software. First it was terrible, glitchy, slow, but useful. A predictive repair platform for independent auto shops. Eventually we named it TorqueTrace. The goal was simple. Give small mechanics the technology billion-dollar dealerships hoarded. We built it ourselves. Day by day. Night by night. While still fixing cars full-time to survive. Year 3 changed everything. A regional garage chain tested TorqueTrace. Repair efficiency improved 31%. Word spread. Then another chain signed. Then another. Investors called. We said no for 18 months because every investor wanted to replace Eli with a real CEO. Translation. Someone wealthier. More polished. More acceptable. Sound familiar? Eventually one investor believed in both of us. Not despite Eli's background. Because of it. TorqueTrace exploded after that. By year 5 we had 70 employees. By year 6 we expanded internationally. By year 7 Forbes called Eli the mechanic disrupting a billion-dollar industry. That was when my family started watching again. I noticed it first online. LinkedIn profile views from Whitmore Capital. Then mutual acquaintances started contacting me. Your mother asked about Eli at a fundraiser. Preston mentioned your valuation at a golf event. Your father watched Eli's CNBC interview twice. Interesting. After 7 years of silence, suddenly they remembered my existence. Then came the first text from Mother. After 7 years. "I hope you're well, Camille." That was it. No apology. No accountability. Just a gentle test balloon floating into my phone. I stared at the message for a full minute before screenshotting it. Journal entry 34. First contact attempt after Forbes article. No apology included. I did not respond. Preston reached out next. Much more aggressively. Dinner invitations. Business talk. Fake warmth. One call lasted 12 minutes and somehow every topic circled back to company valuation. How much equity do you and Eli still hold? You guys considering acquisition? Who's advising your liquidity strategy? Not once did he ask if I was happy. Not once did he mention abandoning me. I started documenting everything more carefully after that. Because something about Preston felt predatory. Then I learned why. Whitmore Capital was collapsing. Bad acquisitions. Risky leverage. Massive debt exposure. My father had hidden losses for years. The empire was cracking. And suddenly the daughter they discarded had become financially useful again. Funny timing. The real betrayal came from someone unexpected. My ex-fiancé. Before Eli, my family had practically arranged a relationship between me and Graham Holloway. Old money. Private schools. Investment banking. Perfect on paper. Emotionally vacant. We dated for 2 years mostly because our families expected it. Graham proposed. I said yes because I thought stability was love. Then I met Eli. And for the first time in my life I understood what genuine connection felt like. I broke off the engagement 3 months later. My family never forgave me for humiliating the Holloways. Turns out Graham never forgave me either. One evening my assistant walked into my office pale-faced. "There's someone here demanding a meeting." "Who?" "Graham Holloway." I almost laughed. 10 years later? Seriously? But then she added, "He says it concerns your family." That changed things. I agreed to meet him. Big mistake. Graham arrived smug and polished as ever. Perfect suit. Perfect hair. Perfect arrogance. He sat across from me and slid a folder onto my desk. Inside were financial records from Whitmore Capital. Debt exposure. Secret loans. Pending investigations. Then Graham leaned back calmly. "Your brother's desperate." I stared at him carefully. "How did you get these?" "Our firms overlap." "And why are you showing me?" "Because your family's about to come after you aggressively." I felt cold suddenly. What does that mean? They think your acquisition payout can save them. Silence. Then Graham said something I'll never forget. "Camille, your father pledged future expectations tied to your company during private negotiations." I blinked. What? He implied reconciliation was inevitable. My stomach dropped. My family had been leveraging my existence financially before even speaking to me, using me as projected rescue capital. Without permission. Without reconciliation. Without shame. I photocopied every document after Graham left. Journal entry 41. Evidence of planned financial dependence before family reconciliation attempt. 3 months later the acquisition happened. $600 million. Cash in stock. News exploded everywhere. CNBC. Bloomberg. Forbes. Former mechanic sells automotive tech company in historic deal. Suddenly Eli Torres wasn't the mechanic. He was a visionary entrepreneur. Amazing how money changes vocabulary. We celebrated quietly. Pizza. Wine. Sweatpants. Just us. Because despite everything, Eli never changed. That's one of the reasons I loved him. Success revealed people. And success revealed Eli had always been exactly who he claimed to be. Good. Solid. Real. Then my mother arrived at the gate. 9 years late. Wearing diamonds. Driving borrowed dignity. I let her in. Not because I forgave her. Because I wanted to hear how the story sounded in her version. She entered the house slowly. Carefully. Looking around like someone touring property she hoped to inherit emotionally. My home was modern but warm. Not sterile like the Whitmore mansion. Photos everywhere. Books. Music. Evidence of living. My mother noticed immediately. "You decorated beautifully." Translation. "Your success surprises me." I offered coffee. She accepted. We sat across from each other in the kitchen. The same kind of kitchen she once said I'd regret downgrading into. Then came the performance. Tears. Regret. Memories. Family language. But something fascinating happened while she talked. She never actually apologized. Not once. She said things like, "We all made mistakes." There was pain on both sides. Families go through difficult seasons. Notice the wording. Mutual responsibility. Shared blame. Neutral language. Anything except, "We abandoned you because we cared more about status than your happiness." Finally she reached into her purse. And removed a folder. Of course she did. Inside. Debt summaries. Loan obligations. Asset freezes. Projected legal exposure. Whitmore Capital needed immediate liquidity. Amount requested. $82 million. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. My mother looked offended instantly. "This isn't funny." "No," I said softly. "It's predictable." Her face hardened slightly. "Your father is devastated." Was he devastated when he missed my wedding? Silence. He was trying to protect the family. There it is. What? The real issue. The family. My voice stayed calm. Dangerously calm. "You never cared whether I was happy." That's not true. You cared whether I was embarrassing. Her eyes filled again. Weaponized tears. I knew them well. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. We did what we thought was best for your future. I stood slowly, walked to my office, opened the bottom cabinet, and carried out 7 leather journals. Heavy, worn, years labeled carefully. My mother frowned. What are those? Your memory problem. I placed the journals on the kitchen table one by one. 9 years. 49 entries. Every lie documented. Every cruelty preserved. Then I opened Journal 1. Entry 1. The prenup ultimatum. Entry 3. Mother calling Eli socially inappropriate. Entry 6. Preston telling relatives I married garage trash. My mother physically flinched. Interesting. Truth hurts differently when spoken aloud. I kept reading. Methodically. Like presenting evidence in court. No screaming. No dramatics. Facts are more devastating delivered calmly. By Journal 3 my mother was crying openly. Please stop. No. Camille. You don't get to skip the middle anymore. That line hit her hard. Because wealthy families specialize in skipping the middle. They want reconciliation without accountability. Access without repair. Love without responsibility. I turned pages slowly. Returned letters. Voicemails. Screenshots. Rumors spread through charity circles. Photographs from family holidays I'd been erased from. Then I reached entry 41. The financial documents Graham gave me. My mother went pale immediately. You spoke to Graham? He warned me. Silence. Then quietly. Your father was desperate. No, I said. Desperate people ask for help. Manipulative people make plans. Her composure cracked after that. Real cracking. Not polished tears. Fear. You don't understand the pressure your father's under. No. You don't understand what it cost me to survive all of you. The room went silent. Heavy. Sharp. Years of truth sitting between us like broken glass. Then Eli walked in. Still wearing work boots from the restoration garage. He kept as a hobby despite being worth hundreds of millions. He looked at the journals. Looked at my mother. Looked at me. Understood immediately. He crossed the kitchen quietly and rested a hand against my shoulder. That simple gesture destroyed something in my mother emotionally. Because in that moment she saw it clearly. I had chosen correctly. Not financially. Humanly. I had married love. And all their wealth had never once given them what Eli gave me effortlessly. Safety. Mother tried one last angle. If your father loses everything, it will destroy him. I looked directly at her. He already destroyed himself the moment he valued status more than his daughter. Tears again. Real this time. Not strategic. She whispered. He loved you. Then he should have acted like it before I became valuable. That line ended the conversation. Because it was true. And truth leaves very little room for negotiation. She left an hour later. No check. No promises. No reconciliation. Just silence. But the story didn't end there. Because wealthy families rarely surrender cleanly. 3 days later Preston filed a lawsuit. Claim. I had manipulated family relationships to gain unfair competitive advantages through industry connections tied to Whitmore Capital. Translation. He was trying to pressure settlement money publicly. Eli laughed when the papers arrived. I didn't. Because lawsuits weren't about winning. They were about intimidation. But Preston made one fatal mistake. He underestimated documentation. Remember the journals? Turns out 49 entries of timestamps, emails, financial cutoffs, and written disownment statements become very useful in court. Especially when combined with witnesses. Especially when combined with evidence proving my family severed all support years before TorqueTrace existed. Preston's lawsuit collapsed in 4 months. Not quietly. Publicly. The judge called parts of the filing opportunistic and unsupported. Financial media picked it up immediately. Then came the real disaster. Discovery uncovered Whitmore Capital's internal communications, including messages where Preston literally referred to me as the emergency liquidity option. That phrase went viral online. Emergency liquidity option. Imagine calling your own sister that. The internet destroyed him. Whitmore Capital collapsed 8 months later. My father retired in disgrace. Preston lost almost everything. The country club vanished. The Hamptons house sold. Luxury disappears fast when it's financed by ego. And me? I didn't feel victorious. That's the strange thing about justice. Real justice rarely feels cinematic. Mostly it feels quiet, like finally setting down something heavy. 2 years later I received a letter from my father. Handwritten. Shaking penmanship. Short. No business language. No strategy. Just honesty. He admitted he had been ashamed. Not of Eli. Of himself. Ashamed that a mechanic possessed more integrity than wealthy men he spent his whole life admiring. I cried reading it, because late honesty is still honesty, and sometimes that matters. Not enough to erase damage, but enough to bury hatred. My father died the following spring. Heart failure. I attended the funeral. So did Eli. My mother looked smaller somehow. Preston barely spoke to anyone. After the service my mother handed me something quietly. A small box. Inside was the pearl necklace she gave back the day she disowned me. Along with a note. I should have cared more about your happiness than our reputation. 10 words. 9 years late. But real. Finally real. I keep the journals locked in my office now. 7 leather journals. 49 entries. 9 years. Not because I enjoy rereading pain. Because memory matters. Families rewrite history constantly. Documentation protects truth. And truth deserves witnesses. Here's what I learned from losing my family and building a new one. Some people love you only when your choices make them comfortable. Some people measure human worth through money, status, and usefulness. And some people, the rare ones, love you in leaking apartments above noisy garages before anyone believes in your future. That's real love. Not the kind performed at galas. Not the kind attached to inheritance conditions. Real love shows up broke, tired, grease-stained, and loyal anyway. And if someone suddenly remembers your value after Forbes writes about you, believe the timing, not the tears.